Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to step into a moment that literally reshaped a nation. We're talking about Nelson Mandela's Inauguration Day, and we'll hear it in his own words, right from his autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom. So let's just start with this incredibly powerful promise that Mandela made on that historic day. I mean, these words, they really capture the soul of what it meant to be a new, free nation. All right, so here's our game plan for breaking down this amazing day. We're going to journey through Mandela's own thoughts, everything from the big public ceremony to his really personal reflections on freedom, loyalty, and what it really means to be free. Okay, let's set the scene. It's May 10th, 1994. A beautiful, clear morning in Pretoria, South Africa's administrative capital. And this was not just another day. It was truly the dawn of a new era. And the location itself, wow, so symbolic. You have to understand, for decades, this amphitheater was the very center of white supremacy. But on this one day, it completely transforms. Mandela calls it a rainbow gathering. What a beautiful phrase, right? A celebration of the country's first ever democratic, non-racial government. And believe me, the whole world was watching. We're talking about leaders and dignitaries from more than 140 countries, all gathered in one place. It was the biggest gathering of international leaders ever on South African soil. They were all there to witness what Mandela called a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. But, in the middle of all this celebration, Mandela, who had such a sharp eye for history, couldn't help but notice some really powerful, kind of ironic moments. He talks about seeing the top military generals, the guys with chests full of medals and ribbons from the old government, saluting him and pledging their loyalty to the new democracy. And here's where the irony just hits you. He's thinking to himself, I know for a fact that these same men, not too many years ago, they wouldn't have been saluting me. They would have been arresting me. Can you imagine? That one single moment just perfectly captures how much the entire country had changed. And this next part just brilliantly illustrates the shift. Get this. 2 national anthems were sung. The white attendees sang Nkosi Sikelel' Afrika, which was the anthem of the anti-apartheid struggle, and the black attendees sang Die Stem, the old anthem of the oppressors. He notes that neither group really knew the words to the other song yet, but it didn't matter. It was just this incredibly powerful symbol of a nation trying to heal. So, as he's reflecting on this incredible victory, his mind goes to the huge human cost of the struggle. He starts thinking about all the people who made that day happen. He pays tribute to the thousands of African patriots who sacrificed everything. He names these incredible leaders, like the Oliver Tambos and the Walter Sisulu's, men of just extraordinary courage and wisdom. And then he makes this really surprising point. He says that in a strange way, these great men were an unintended product of the very system they were fighting. And that leads him to this really deep and challenging thought. Maybe the sheer brutality of apartheid, which was designed to crush the human spirit, actually, ironically, created people with this unbelievable strength and character. It's a question he kind of leaves hanging in the air for all of us to think about, right? Does that kind of profound struggle really create profound character? It's a heavy thought, for sure, but it says so much about human resilience. Okay, now let's dig into a core conflict that Mandela talks about, something that every single person of color living under apartheid had to face. He explains that, in a normal, decent society, everybody has what he calls twin obligations. First, you have a duty to your family, your parents, your partner, your kids. And second, you have a duty to your people, your community, and your country. But here's the thing. Apartheid made it absolutely impossible for a black person to do both. The whole system was cruelly set up so that if you tried to serve your community, you were punished. You were isolated, torn away from your family. So to fulfill one of these sacred duties, you were pretty much forced to neglect the other. A terrible, impossible choice. In this impossible choice, it leads Mandela to think much more deeply about what freedom even means. And for him, the very idea of freedom changed a lot over his life. You can really see how his idea of freedom evolved. When he was a boy, freedom was simple, right? It was just being able to run in the fields. As a student, it was about transitory freedoms, like staying out at night. Then, as a young man, it was about what he called honorable freedoms, having a career, getting married, raising a family. But then it hit him. He slowly realized that his own personal freedom was just an illusion if his people weren't free. And that's when his own hunger for freedom became this much, much bigger hunger for the freedom of everyone. And this right here is the absolute core of his new perspective. He realizes that freedom, it's indivisible. There was no way he could enjoy his own freedom while his community was still in chains. And he puts it so powerfully: the chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. Which leads him to what is maybe his most incredible insight of all. He argues that true freedom isn't just about freeing the oppressed. No, it's also about liberating the oppressor. Because they're also trapped, right? Locked in a prison of their own hatred and prejudice. And as he says, in the end, both the oppressed and the oppressor are robbed of their humanity. All right, before we wrap up, let's just quickly look at the language here, because it's pretty cool how his message is woven right into the text. So if you look closely, you'll see how specific words are used. You get nouns like rebellion or constitution, which come from verbs, right? The action of to rebel or to constitute. It's a subtle way of reminding us that all these big political ideas are built on actual human actions. And here's another really clever language trick. When Mandela says the Oliver Tambos, he doesn't just mean that one guy. By putting V in front of the name, he turns it into a symbol for a whole type of person. All those thousands of unsung heroes who had that same kind of incredible courage. So, we end right back where we started, with the central question of Mandela's entire journey. What does it truly mean to be free? And his answer is a challenge for every single one of us. It's that true freedom isn't just about breaking your own chains. It's about making sure everyone, the oppressed and yes, even the oppressor, is free from the prison of hatred. And as he said so perfectly, let freedom reign.